Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm at Oswald's Mill, and today I'm going to do a video. It's a long time coming on psychedelics and sound. And I've been thinking about this video for a really long time and debated when to actually shoot it. It's definitely going to be the most personal thing that I've ever done in these video series. And I'm going to share with you my own personal experience with psychedelics and begin to talk about how psychedelics is involved in what my companies, Oswald's Mill Audio and Fleetwood Sound, are doing. And I think the best place to start is with my own experience with psychedelics. 5.5 years ago or so, I was at the tail end of decades-long bout with alcoholism. And I wasn't just a heavy drinker. I was a full-blown alcoholic. I resisted 12-step programs, AA, and I never checked into a rehab clinic. But about 5.5 years ago, I realized that if I didn't do something soon, then I probably wouldn't be around for very much longer. I was drinking a bottle of hard booze pretty much every day. And while I was a functional alcoholic, and I was able to run the companies and hide my addiction really well, although not from my spouse, who still supported me. I knew that I was going down, and I was going down really fast. And at that time, Michael Pollan had written his book, How to Change Your Mind. And he was talking about it on the radio. I heard an interview with him, and he talked about how effective psychedelic medicine had proven with treatment of addiction. And so I made up my mind that this would be what I would try to do. And I started to call underground guides who work with psilocybin, magic mushrooms, to see if I could find somebody who would help me with this. And very quickly, someone said, well, you live in New York City, right? And you're an alcoholic, right? Yep. Did you know that NYU is conducting Phase Two FDA clinical trials for the treatment of chronic alcohol use disorder, alcoholism, with high-dose psilocybin, the chemical in magic mushrooms. And so I called up NYU, and within minutes, they indicated that I looked promising, that I should come in, and I was, within 24 hours, accepted into the study, which was about midway at that point. It's about 5.5 years ago. And that was a double-blind study. So I had a 50% chance of receiving the placebo. And I was terrified about that because I thought, if I get the placebo, I may not be alive, in a year. I mean, I was in such bad shape. And I received some basic therapy, and I had never taken any drugs. I'd never taken any psychedelic drugs prior to my enrollment in this study. And there were 3 medication days, 3 psychedelic trips that I received, that all the participants could receive. And I didn't receive the placebo. I received high-dose synthetic psilocybin, which completely upturned my world and my universe. And it was extremely difficult, actually. The trips were not at all easy. The doctors were incredible, and the whole process was incredible. And it resulted in my never having another drop of alcohol from the last medication session I had, which was August 27th. It'll be 5 years in a few weeks. If you've ever seen or been to my studio in Dumbo, in the loft, you probably have noticed a very large, extremely well-stocked bar filled with different types of spirits from all over the world. It's a better stocked bar than most restaurants in New York City. And if you know anything about alcohol and alcoholism, the last thing any alcoholic wants to do is to be placed in proximity to alcohol, because there's this understanding, with AA, especially, this is underscored, that you're in a continuous conflict for the rest of your life between wanting to have alcohol again and knowing that if you do, you're on the road to ruin and probably even to death. And I live surrounded by alcohol every day. I serve alcohol to my guests on a very frequent basis, almost daily. And from that last medication session, I never had another drop of alcohol to drink, and I never even thought about drinking again. It's as if the psilocybin completely erased the memory of being an alcoholic. And in fact, because it was a Phase 2 clinical trial, all the subjects, such as myself, were anonymous. And 6 months after my last medication session, where I realized I wouldn't ever have to drink again, and I was truly liberated from the addiction of alcoholism, I decided to get a tattoo. I only have one tattoo, and this is the tattoo. It says 2082. I put it here so I would see it every day for the rest of my life. That was my identification number for the study at NYU. So instead of being, introduced, they would record everything as Jonathan Weiss, I was subject 2082. And I wanted to remind myself about that and that debt that I had to the study and to psychedelic medicine and to myself by tattooing that in a rather prominent, somewhat provocative place. The actual process that I underwent is worth briefly mentioning, because many people have had recreational experiences with psychedelics at concerts or at parties, at raves and such. The way in which these psychedelic therapeutic sessions work is very, very well thought out and has been created over decades, and it's very different from recreational use of these substances. So I was locked up in a hospital room at New York's Bellevue Hospital, one of the world's great hospitals. But this room, once you went through the door, it didn't look like a hospital room at all inside. It looked like somebody's living room. Had nice shag carpet, very comfortable sofa with blankets and pillows and things like this, and artwork, and just, it felt like somebody's nice living room. Only when I went to the window, which had bars on it, and you looked out, you realized you were at Bellevue. So it didn't feel at all like a hospital room. It felt like you were visiting some nice person's home. And the experience is really very simple, and it's universal throughout these studies, and through if you were to do this process with a guide, and it involves an eye mask so that you're inwardly focused, and music. And this music was delivered via a pair of headphones. They were not great headphones. And the playlist, while it wasn't a great playlist, it had some interesting and good music on it. It's music that's very carefully chosen for this process. And it doesn't have, for example, a heavy rhythmic component, and lyrics are kept to a very bare minimum so that you're not getting caught up in an ideation process while you're on the substance. But the music is there to guide you and let this process unfold, where you go deep within your mind, and really I would say within consciousness in general, and you discover, at least in my case, what were the roots of my addiction to alcohol. And in fact, I would say that this addiction to alcohol is really no different than addictions to anything or substance. So it could be opioids or other drugs. It could be behaviors that are destructive, addictions to gambling, to sex, pornography. I mean, you could even be addicted to going to the gym, which might be considered to be a positive thing, but an addiction is a behavior that is not a positive behavior, and that I would argue is about distracting and covering up what really is the root or fundamental cause of the problem and the behavior. So the psychedelic treatment that I had was successful. And this is a really big deal, because I just checked with what the current numbers are from the CDC, for Center for Disease Control. And last year, about 180,000 people died of alcoholism. And about 80,000 people died of opioid overdoses. So that's more than 250,000 Americans died last year of addictions to two classes of chemical substances, which can be very, very successfully treated with psychedelic therapy. And I believe that we are in the middle of a revolution of psychedelic medicine. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more in this video, but I'm going to devote videos in the future to more in-depth discussion about these very important issues. But suffice it to say that 250,000 Americans dying every year of addiction to just two classes of substances, that's a lot of people that could be helped by psychedelic medicine. And again, I had only 3 sessions with psilocybin, which successfully made me never want to drink again. And also completely changed my life.